Hello, everybody. Welcome to Oscar Weekend here at Pokésports, the only podcast that is fully about Oscars. Who wore it best? Where are they now? And who's gonna come home with the big metal boy? I'm Mike, and I play with one Pokemon on the field.
I'm Kevin. I play with two. Mike, what Pokemon do you think best represents the Oscar Pokemon?
All right,
What
who's coming home?
Pokemon can win an Oscar?
Who's coming home? I think Toucanon is coming home for their role in the award-winning flick Where What Happened is what it's called.
What about Jigglypuff? She's got a voice.
Jigglypuff's got a voice, but Jigglypuff's more of a Grammy winner than an Oscar
true.
winner.
So whenever we inevitably record on the Grammys, we could talk about Jigglypuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. Last week, actually, funny enough, was what was it? It was Super Bowl weekend, and we asked people at the time what some good quarterbacks would be. So I think I'm actually gonna pose that question to the chat as well, guys. What Pokemon do you think deserves an Oscar for their performance in Sword and Shield, the movie, the game, the lifestyle?
No Excadrill. No Excadrill's allowed.
Last week, some of the results we got were Machamp for the Super Bowl. Amazing football player. Sock Throw, Passimian, who's basically already a quarterback. And then some people thought that we were talking about American or was it? Like British. European football, I guess. As in soccer in America, where we got Pokemon like Cinderace, Raboot, basically that whole line.
Yeah.
You know, just Cinderace and its family playing along with soccer. Personally, I think that Snorlax would be a good goalie.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, for any sport, I would say Loudred's a great commentator. So there's that. And of course, Toucanon. This is the second time I'm bringing up Toucanon because for whatever reason, I completely forgot about that as a Pokemon. And I was like, wait a second.
Who could blame you, Mike?
Wasn't there like some Vuvuzela Pokemon that was like a bird? And I looked it up and I was like, I think it was like Trumbeak was the middle evolution. It was. Yeah, Toucanon was a thing for a hot second.
That everyone forgot about.
And
nobody missed in Sword and Shield. But yeah, Vuvuzela crowd.
Already people in chat speaking to us live, 9 p.m. EST on Sundays. Max Tofu says Togekiss obviously has been dazzling this past season. Really showing their stuff. Whimsicott, of course. I really like that scene in that one movie where he beat up the Lucario. That was a very good scene. Really enhanced the Lucario's performance.
This just turned into a Poke Roleplay podcast.
What is that?
A Pokemon roleplay podcast.
Oh, basically. I mean, what's wrong with that? Pokeplay.
Yeah, no.
This sounds like we're getting into something.
Oh, geez.
Guys, we're only sort of here to talk about the Oscars today. We're actually here to talk about the weather.
Yes.
But before we get into the weather, of course, we have to get into the news. But even before the news, people have been asking us some questions, Kevin, on Discord. This week, one of the most, I guess, requested things on the Discord has been how we met. Because
people want to know about us.
People want to know.
Thought?
I know, right? Like clearly we're not in the same room right now. I am in sunny remote location. And I'm
in dark remote.
You're in dark mode. So, Kevin, how did we meet? Because it's been years.
It's been a long time. Yeah. It's I think the earliest I can remember was I used to run a channel with a bunch of other PokeTubers where it was like a community channel, kind of similar to like what Lumio Station was at its peak. Just like a bunch of people just submit things. We have community submissions, and Mike was actually one of the people that submitted to that channel. And it was like the only good video amongst a pile of trash. And I was like, oh, thank God. Somebody actually uploaded a quality video. So yeah, we just started talking through that. I remember you made like a Poke musical thing.
Oh man,
Which,
and that has come back to haunt me actually.
believe it or not, Mike can sing.
The 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 thing that my claim to fame on YouTube, the thing that I have on YouTube that has the most views, watch time, whatever you want to call it, was a parody of "Let It Go" that I did behind a battle replay. Basically, I recorded a battle back in like Gen 5 or Gen 6, I think. And I sang "Let It Go," but all of the words were just what the Pokemon were doing. So that got quite popular on YouTube, and that was my claim to fame for a little while. And then I tried to make some more, but obviously when you run into parody, you run into some copyright issues. So that was a little short-lived. But yeah, ever since then we've been friends. We've been playing Pokemon together. We've been playing other games together that don't need to be mentioned. But yeah, I mean, we met up once actually at PAX. Did you mention that?
No, not yet.
Yeah, we met up at PAX 2015, where we, finally got to meet each other for the first time and meet each other's friends and a lot of other people who were doing the Mount Silver Battles thing, the MSB.
Oh my
the
god,
MSB crew.
You know what I remember from that PAX, and I think there's video evidence online that I gotta go dig up. Is you and me we were walking back to
across
our
the
car,
bridge. Yep.
And we were just singing a song as loud as possible on the street of Boston, crossing a bridge.
Yeah.
Oh jeez, that was great. I have to dig that up.
And then I think once you came to Toronto, like at some point between that, I think it was like 2017, 2018 for a little bit. We went to the Hockey Hall of Fame. That was pretty nice. And then you're coming next month.
Yeah.
Right?
We haven't seen each other in like a long time.
I know. You're going to stay at my place. We're going to go to a regionals.
We're going to get first and second
at the regionals. First and second at the regionals. We're going to get points, and they're not going to matter because we're not doing any of the other regionals anywhere else. So let's get into the weather. Yes. Actually, hold up. Before the weather, I'm like teasing. I'm teasing this weather thing. Guys, guess what? We're getting an international challenge in game. Are you kidding me?
With the best prize on earth.
Oh my god, you guys, you're not even ready. If you don't know about this yet, you're not even ready.
Yep. Not only do you get championship points for competing, you also don't even have to do well, and you'll get a Ball Guy T-shirt in game.
It's happened.
There's no image of it, but just that fact is good enough to at least enter.
Guys, it's happened. We have finally achieved Ball Guy status. I've been waiting for this forever. I think I've even said on this podcast that I will cosplay as Ball Guy at some point in my life. And now I can do it in game. I can actually go to tournaments dressed as Ball Guy, play as Ball Guy. And soon, with Home coming out, I might be able to actually use electrodes.
Ooh,
I never thought about that one. But I might be able to use electrodes and what's his name? Stunfisks.
You could do a Pokeball team with a Moongus. You could do Electrode, Voltorb, Foongus. What else has a Pokeball? There has to be other Pokemon.
There has to be. Yeah. But you get it. You get the Ball Guy T-shirt, and I want it, and I need it. Signups will be from Wednesday, February 19th at 10 p.m. PST until Thursday, February 27th at 3:59 p.m. PST. Competitions will run the weekend right after that. So get your signups in, get your Ball Guy shirts, because we want to see them.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Oh my god, yeah.
We still don't even know that.
I need to know. I truly, truly need to know. Guys, today we're talking about the weather. That's Ball Guy right there. Look at that. Oh my gosh, in all his glory. Guys, today we're talking about the weather. Weather right now is more predominant than ever. There's just so many ways to use it. There are teams now that rely on it. There are some teams that don't rely on it, and there are some teams that just kind of like accidentally set it up because of Dynamax and Gigantamax. It's just a thing that happens now.
Yep.
I think that personally, before we get into it though, I want to say that I think that was the way to really normalize weather and to really like integrate it into part of the game without really having to make your teams around it. Now you can actually
Mm-hmm.
use weather as like a utility thing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
amazing.
true, and especially since there's not a lot of Pokemon that auto set it, so
Right.
that's another thing.
Right. So Kevin, tell the people what weather is.
So weather is essentially just a change to the field environment and dynamic. It has a bunch of different effects depending on the weather it is. There are 4 different kinds of weather currently in Sword and Shield. So that's
Mm-hmm.
sun, sand, rain, hail. And we're going to be going through all of them in detail. But reasons that you'd want to use weather is because having weather control in this game with so many ways to change it now is really important because previous generations you'd only be able to change the weather if you had a move that can change the weather, like hail, rain dance, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
or if you had a Pokemon that can change the weather with an ability like Ninetales with drought, Politoed with drizzle. But now you have access to D-Max moves, so weather wars are super prevalent again. Like,
Yeah.
last time you heard the word weather wars is like what, Gen 5? So they're super prevalent because D-Max moves have the capability of changing the weather
Yeah.
and,
And I mean
doing that.
that's another reason why Dmax is actually kind of balanced. Like it kind of adds an element of balance to Dynamax
Hmm.
as well because of the fact that weather can increase damage of certain moves. So sometimes a Dmax move setting weather can actually be a detriment to the Pokemon on that side of the field who don't want to take an enhanced weather move. Right, like you've got
Hmm.
your sun that goes up with a max flare, but suddenly you're taking 50% more fire damage if you set up that sun. So
Yeah.
there's that. But anyway, let's get into the first element of weather that we have to talk about, which is actually the sun. The sun, of course, can be set up by the move Sunny Day, as well as the ability Drought. Now, I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but not a lot of Pokemon actually have Drought. You might have thought that a lot of Pokemon actually have it because of the fact that it comes up so often, but no. In Sword and Shield, only Torkoal and the Ninetales line have it, and then outside of that,
Hmm.
I think it was just what is that Groudon, and there was one other, but it's not even in the game anymore. So
Yeah.
and
I
that
can't
doesn't
remember it
matter.
either.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Somebody in the chat will know. Anyway, what does Sun do? It increases the power of fire moves by 50%. As I mentioned, it decreases the power of water moves by 50%. So keep that in mind. If you're using a water Pokemon, someone uses Max Flare, your water moves are going to do a little less damage. Trickovish users out there, be careful.
Hmm.
It prevents Pokemon from being frozen, which is something that Kevin, I don't think you knew this week.
No, I didn't know that. I was like, wow. It makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense because how can you freeze something in the sun?
right.
But it's just something I never considered because I'm pretty sure there were times where I'm like, oh, I'm spamming Ice Beam, but I can't get this freeze that I need, and I was
Right.
probably in the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like you're trying to get a freeze, there's sun out, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
It increases the healing of Synthesis, Morning Sun, and Moonlight to 66% of the Pokemon's max HP.
that's
Um,
so much.
it's a lot. I
Yeah.
think actually in previous generations it was 75%. Am I wrong?
Oh, I have no idea, but
I
that
think that
66
might have
is
been.
good enough.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't need to be better.
There are two grass moves that benefit from that, being Solar Beam and Solar Blade, which Solar Blade is just the physical version of Solar Beam. It was introduced pretty later
This gen.
into the games. No, not this gen. It
Oh,
was here
really?
before. Yeah,
Oh, never mind.
I think it's either 6 or 7, one of those two. It lowers the accuracy of Thunder and Hurricane to 50%.
I didn't
So
know that one either.
Hurricane, I knew. Thunder, I didn't. But Hurricane, not seeing as much play this gen. Now that I think about it,
Yeah, you really need rain to use it.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's just kind of bad.
like you really see it
Kind of.
on Pelipper, but not much else.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, and then if you had yourself a cast form once Home comes out, would change Weather Ball to Fire type, and it would double its power. Are there any other Pokemon that get Weather Ball this gen, or is that just cast form exclusive?
For some reason, I remember Venusaur getting access to something like that.
Oh,
I'm checking right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, other Pokemon get it. A bunch of Pokemon get it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, things
Interesting.
like Vanillux gets it, Roserade gets it, Drifblim gets it. Things like that. That's all that I can see that's in this game.
And then, of course, another one that Victory Bell in previous generations used was Growth, increasing both attack and special attack by 2 stages instead of just 1. So, when sun's up, obviously you're going to be using a lot of fire teams, a lot of grass teams, not a heck of a lot of water teams that actually want to use it. However, there are some Pokemon that don't live inside that fire and grass category that do benefit from sun as well. We'll get into those. But some of the abilities that you're going to be wanting to use in sun will be Chlorophyll, doubles Pokemon speed, Dry Skin, Pokemon, will lose an eighth of their HP, and fire moves will do 25% more damage in the sun. But that one's just typically not too great.
That one you use on rain teams, but it does have a hindering effect if the sun is out.
Yes.
So it's a give and take.
Exactly. Harvest, Pokemon have a 100% chance to restore their consumed berry. So that was used a lot with Alolan Executor.
Trevenant, yeah.
Trevenant used that a lot in Sun teams. Trevenant just used that a lot without Sun teams too, huh?
Yeah, it's the best one that it gets access to, I think.
Yeah. Leaf Guard, Pokemon can't be affected by status conditions. Solar Power, Pokemon lose an eighth of their HP but receive 50% special attack boosts. That one's just a much better Dry Skin.
That's why Charizard is so good.
Yeah.
Because you're receiving the 50% special attack boost on top of a 50% fire damage boost on top of a stab boost. It's nutty.
Well, actually, that's why Charizard is seeing so much play, apart from the fact that it's Charizard and is really good.
Also, why the G-Max is only allowed to use Blaze.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then the last one that we really feel like talking about is Flower Gift. Flower Gift's exclusive to Cherrim. It increases its attack and special defense in the sun, but just save yourself the trouble. Don't use Cherrim. Do not.
It's not worth it.
No.
Don't even bother breeding.
It's absolutely not worth using. Unless if you want to use a Cherrim and you think that it's actually good, give it a shot. Maybe some Baton Pass shenanigans will actually work with it, but it's just not good.
If you use Cherrim, you might as well use Delibird.
Hey, listen. Apparently Delibird's
What
good.
happened? What happened with Delibird? Mike, you want to talk about it?
Anybody who's gone to youtube.com/Pokésports, this past Saturday, I posted a video for VGC Boot Camp. The first game that I ever played for VGC was against a Dynamax Delibird that swept my team. So I was a little upset about that, but hey, you know what? You live, you learn. And I didn't lose a game after that. So
you get what you ask for, Mike.
I get what I ask for. So some common sun users, and then we'll get into the next one, which Kevin will talk about. Common sun users, Torkoal, you'll see on the screen, Vileplume, Charizard, Ninetales, and Heliolisk. Now, Heliolisk is one of those Pokemon that I was talking about that isn't necessarily a fire type or a grass type, but actually benefits, and that's mainly because of the Dry Skin. You don't really see...
Solar Power.
Solar Power as well it has, right? It has both of those, right?
Yeah, but Dry Skin doesn't benefit it.
Oh, fair. Because of the Solar Power. So, I mean, like, Heliolisk is a great use on a Sun team, specifically because of its coverage and the fact that, you actually have an electric type on the field. Do you actually like using Heliolisk, Kevin?
Oh, I love it, dude. I ran it back in VGC 2015, actually, on a Sun team with Megazard Y and Hyper Beam Heliolisk. You one-shot everything. It's so fantastic. It's such a good because Heliolisk is also normal type. It's not just electric, so you get the stab on the Hyper Beam too. So I had fun with that one. Plus Life Orb.
True. Now, here's something. This just in, Wii U, correction alert, we bungled it. Dry Skin doesn't actually increase the damage that you do. It increases the damage that you take from fire type moves. So
Solar
it's not
Power is the one that increases.
Yeah. But it's not a move that's good in sunny day. because you
No,
lose your
bad.
HP and you get hurt more. So I guess I bungled it. But anyway, you do get healed in the rain, so it's nice for a water team too. All right, but anyway, that's sun. Let's get into the sand. Kevin, go ahead.
Now, sand, I'm sure you guys, if you guys are playing VGC, if you guys are experiencing ranked online, you've seen sand more often than you'd like to. Because you see your boy Excadrill and you see Tyranitar, but there are other Pokemon that could also use it, but typically you'd see those two. Those are your big ones. And those are the sole reason why I consider sand to be probably the most popular weather at the current moment. What does sand do? Sand is a little bit different than sun because sand actually deals damage to all Pokemon on the field that aren't a rock, steel, or ground type. It deals 1/16 of their maximum HP, but there are some abilities and items that can negate that damage because that damage can be pretty annoying. It does eliminate things like focus sashes. If a Pokemon lives at 1 HP, guess what? Sand will take you out. It doesn't matter. But yeah, those abilities that take care of sand damage are Overcoated Magikarp, and there's also items like safety goggles that you can use in order to prevent the sand damage. Along with that, it also raises the special defense of all rock-type Pokemon by 50%, which is also another reason why Rhyperior is such a big problem.
Oh, yeah.
Because Rhyperior we just use Max Rockfall, which is one of the ways to set sand, along with Sandstorm as the move. And I think Sandaconda also gets Sand Spit now, so it's like you get a sand stream, but only after you're made contact with.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rhyperior would get the 50% special attack boost, just be even that much more annoying to take out.
It's like it sets up a light screen.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Free light screen. Just by,
being a rock type.
Yeah.
That's classist.
And then this is something else that I learned. Apparently, all of the weathers except for sun reduce the damage of Solar Beam and Solar Blade by 50%.
Really?
Yeah. Rain reduces it, hail reduces it, sand reduces it. But the thing is, that's kind of meaningless, right? Because Solar Beam would take 2 turns to proc anyway.
Yeah.
If it's not in sun, so I guess you wouldn't see that damage for 2 turns. But that's something interesting to consider. It also reduces the amount healed by Synthesis, Morning Sun, and Moonlight by 25%. So from 66 to 25 is a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then changes Weather Ball to Rock type, doubles power. It's kind of the Weather Ball is kind of seen throughout. It'll change the typing and then double the power.
Yeah. I do like it because it does allow you to sorry, I just had a moment where I'm like, are there any ground and grass types? Anyway.
Yes,
Torterra, thank you. It was interesting to me because it made me realize that, there are Pokemon that are outside of, the specific typical weather genre that can fit inside a weather team because of Weather Ball. I don't think I've actually seen too many of them though.
Yeah, that's
I wonder what Pokemon actually benefit from having Weather Ball on a weather team.
I mean, things like for instance, if you're running a Roserade, I'm using Roserade as an example.
Yeah.
Roserade with fire in a sun team with a fire type Weather Ball would be able to hit grass for super effective, so it's not walled by other grass types. If it's on a sand team, it'd be rock type. You're able to hit ice types by super effective damage.
Yeah.
Which is super effective against you. If you're on a rain team, you'd be able to hit fire types with water.
True.
And then if you're on a hail team, well, you have an ice type move. Congratulations.
Fair enough. So what are some of the more popular abilities that sand can use?
The most popular for sure would be Sand Rush. Sand Rush essentially does the same thing that Chlorophyll does, which doubles the Pokemon speed while in the sand. There's also other
Kevin, can you say that one again?
What? Sand Rush? Doubles the Pokemon speed in the sand. Oh, okay. Sand Rush, which is like the most popular one because it'll double the Pokemon speed in the sand, used mostly by Excadrills. There's also things like Sand Force, which will increase the damage of rock, ground, and steel moves by 30% while in the sand.
3 of those, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are also the 3 typings that don't get hit by sand damage. And then you have Sand Veil, which will make it so that when the opponent attacks you, the chances of him hitting you is modified by a factor of 80% while in the sand. So you're 80%, or I guess 20% more likely not to get hit, if that makes any sense. It raises your evasiveness by 20%, essentially.
I see.
Watch our numbers episode.
Yeah, basically, right? And then there's some common sand users. Obviously, there's Excadrill, there's Tyranitar, Gigalith, Hippowdon, Gastrodon. Of these, I personally don't see a ton of Gigaliths. You see almost too many Excadrills. A little too many Tyranitars. Not that many Gastrodons. Gastrodons more than Hippowdons, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gastrodon's typically used on regular teams, if anything.
I mean,
Rhyperior should probably be on this list, too. Rhyperior's a big one.
Rhyperior is a great one. Absolutely. But actually, these Pokemon right here actually bring us to our Pokésports Pokemon Spotlight, which this week is one of these guys right here. It is Tyranitar. Tyranitars usually run weakness policy with the ability Sandstream. They usually have the EVs of 252 HP, 252 attack, and 4 special defense with an adamant nature. Typically, they'll run the moves Protect, Rock Slide, Crunch, and Superpower. There are other moves that you can use like Dragon Dance, but not typically anything else. Dragon Dance is kind of used when you have enough of a defense that you can actually have a turn to set up. But be wary that Tyranitars can go down to a series of very popular fighting moves, one of those being a Mach Punch from a Kinkeldor that's strong enough, depending on your defensive capabilities. Other potential replacement moves, Fire Punch, Foul Play, Dark Pulse. Again, all just things that you can put in for different types of coverage if you want to play Tyranitar in a different kind of way. But those first 4 moves that I mentioned were pretty stable.
Now, Tyranitar benefits a lot from having that special defense increase when it's in the Sandstorm, and you self-set the Sandstorm. It's a good Pokemon. Like, all of the weaknesses that it has are all irrelevant. That's why we stick weakness policy on it. Only thing that you have to worry about is fighting type.
That's true. I mean, technically, it could be said that Earthquake is something that you can watch out for, but you don't see Earthquake run in VGC very much. You do see it run in singles, so that might be something that you want to pay attention to. But again, if you're using it for VGC, if you're trying to bring it up in for a team, don't really worry too much about that. And with that, we are going to move on into our break. So sit tight. We will be back in just a few for some more weather. See you then. And we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to Oscars weekend, where we're looking at the best dressed Pokemon of the night. Now, I will say that I was not expecting Kinkeldor to come walking in with an assault vest, but honestly, he pulled it off. So, of course, you've got Nidoking walking in. We haven't seen Nidoking for a little while. We're thinking that maybe now with Nidoking showing up at the Oscars that this might be teasing something coming up this year, because we really haven't seen too much of him this generation. But he is holding a life orb, and I wonder what that could mean. Or now, wait a second. What are those on his feet? Are those heavy duty boots? Oh, a Nidoking with heavy duty boots. You don't say.
Are you theory crafting right now?
Listen. The second that G-Max Capraja comes out, you're going to start seeing a lot more heavy duty boots. Let me just say that.
Oh, that's true, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different entry hazard.
Mm-hmm. Now, guys, before we get into that painful rain that hurts you while you walk, I want to real quick tell you about the Patreon. We have been working incredibly hard on getting that Patreon to something that we can pass off to you guys and say, this is something that we have for you. And I think we finally got there. We have 3 different tiers for our Patreon right now. We have our $2 Pokeball tier, which will provide you with an exclusive giveaway once we hit 5 patrons, as well as an exclusive Patreon channel within our Discord. So that's a great place for you to come in and chat with us and really ask the hard-hitting questions.
They get a lot of perks, guys.
They get a lot of perks. Gross. Tier 2 gives you access to a Patreon-only podcast that we are now calling the Pokésports Post Game, where we discuss just kind of our life, where we talk about lots of different things. Today, I'm going to be talking about the TCG and how I don't use it to actually play the game. But it's a fun time. Kevin and I have a good time with it. So if you want access to that, that's only through Patreon. And yeah, it's fun. Tier 3 is where we provide Patreon only vlogs and other types of videos, and as well when we have when we have merch, I should say, which is coming incredibly soon. I'm just waiting for my test in the mail. They will be discounted for the patrons. So that's at the $10 Ultra Ball tier. Second one's a Great Ball. I don't think I mentioned. But anyway, 3 tiers, lots of different things to go and check out. You can check that out at patreon.com/Pokesports-podcast. Let's get back into the weather. We're talking about hail next. That ouchy kind of rain. That's what it is.
Kind of rain.
Comes from the sky, hurts my cheeks. Hail.
That Mike knows too much of up in Canada.
Honestly, it's snowing pretty hard outside right now. I don't like it. I'm gonna have to shovel outside. No, I'm sorry. It's sunny. Look right over here. It's the sun. I can hold it in my hand and squish it with my fingers. Hail can be started by the move hail. Imagine that.
Whoa.
No
way.
I know, right? Or by the ability Snow Warning, which is owned by Vanillux and Abomasnow. Or by the move Max Hailstorm. Once Alolan Ninetales comes out too, that's going to be a fun time.
Fingers crossed home, please.
Yes, please. So what does Hail do? It damages all non-ice type Pokemon, much like Sandstorm, for 1/16 of their maximum HP. Damage can also be negated by abilities like Overcoat, Magic Guard, or items like Safety Goggles. Again, much like Sandstorm. What is different from Sandstorm is that you can use the move Aurora Veil, which is incredible. It's kind of like the rock type Sandstorm 50% special defense, but it is a reflect and a light screen kind of baked into one. You use a move and suddenly all damage is 50% less. It's pretty incredible. Now, the only problem is that it does require a Snow Warning, or it does require like just the use of a move that turn. So not getting it immediately is kind of a nasty thing. But if you can get it up, you're good for the next 4 to 7 turns.
It's pretty much the only reason Vanillux is seeing a lot of play right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hail also increases the accuracy of Blizzard to 100%. Blizzard, which is not a 100% move, I believe it's 80. Goes right up there. It is a spread move. It is a high damaging move. It is something that all ice teams use in some respect. And of course, Solar Beam, Solar Blade, power goes down to 50% because it's not sun.
Really? Hail is in sun?
Hail is not sun. Hail also reduces the amount, I should say, healed by Synthesis, Morning Sun, Moonlight to 25% of the maximum HP, and changes Weather Ball to Ice type while doubling its power. There are some abilities that are triggered by Hail, much like Sand Rush. There's also Slash Rush. Slash Rush doubles the Pokemon's speed when Hail is up. Ice Body will regain 1/16 of the maximum HP of the Pokemon while they're in Hail. And then Snow Cloak, Pokemon have the ability or have the accuracy of the opponent's moves modified by a factor of 80% in Hail. So it's kind of like Sandvale, same kind of thing.
Pretty much. Hail and Sand are very similar. Rain and Fire are very similar.
Yeah.
You guys didn't get that vibe yet.
That's true. But the Pokemon are very different. Vanillex, Abomasnow, common Hail abusers. Beartic, common Hail user because of Slush Rush.
Yes.
Askew because of Ice Body. Not Ice Body, because of Ice Face.
That new thing.
Yeah.
Ice
Face. One Ice Face is broken. It actually like reconstructs a new one, which is kind of nuts.
Reconstructs his face.
It's a nutso move. I love it.
Yeah.
And then we have Inteleon here. And obviously Inteleon, not an ice type. But Kevin, tell us why Inteleon's in here as well.
The reason Inteleon is in here is because Inteleon is commonly used on Hail teams because it's the strongest and the fastest Blizzard. Although it doesn't get stab, it's still, with its high special attack and its high speed, a very reliable Blizzard to get off. So you typically in Hail teams, you'd have the Vanillux set up with the Aurora Veil, and then you'd have the Inteleon use Blizzard, and then you just Blizzard spam until your heart's content.
The strongest and fastest Blizzard. It's the name of my book. The strongest and fastest Blizzard. Mike's Tales from Canada. That is what my book is called. That is Hail. If only
Greninja was still in this game, then you can get the Protean stab on it too.
Oh my god, true.
Yeah.
Did Greninja get Blizzard?
Yeah, I believe so.
So we might be seeing some Greninjas in the next year or so when they decide to open up the floodgates for everything else coming back. Last but not least, and I have my lovely little infographic up there, we're talking about Rain. Kevin, tell the people about what Rain does.
Rain is the rain that doesn't hurt.
That's true.
Rain is typically started by moves like Rain Dance, the ability Drizzle, which is only Pelipper at the moment, but there are other Pokemon that get it, like Politoed and Kyogre.
Politoed was one of the major rain setters for a long, long time.
Politoed is your better Pelipper, essentially. Yeah. And also the move Max Geyser. What Rain does, it's very similar to Harsh Sunlight. Increases, except the opposite, if that makes any sense. It increases the power of water moves by 50%, reduces the power of fire moves by 50%, increases the accuracy of Thunder and Hurricane to 100%. So that's actually pretty relevant because on a lot of Rain teams, you'll actually see electric type Pokemon to absorb that electric weakness. And Hurricane, Pelipper uses it. It gets 100% accuracy on it, has the chance for confusion, etc. It reduces the power of Solar Beam and Solar Blade by 50%, like every other one except for Sun. Reduces the amount healed by Synthesis, Morning Sun, and Moonlight by 25% of the maximum of HP, like every other one except Sun. And then it changes Weather Ball to Water type and doubles power. Abilities. Dry Skin. This is where Dry Skin is good.
Dry Skin. Here we go.
Yeah, this is where Dry Skin is good. It recovers 1/8 of the maximum of HP in Rain, and Pokemon with Dry Skin have their HP restored by 1/4 of their maximum of HP if they're hit by a water move. So you can abuse this with moves like Surf, have your water Pokemon use Surf, and then you can damage enemy Pokemon while healing your own Pokemon at the same time. It's actually very, very. It's a lot better than just other moves like Life Do. Like the move Life Do exists, but you might as well do damage while you're healing. Then you have abilities like Hydration, which heals the status condition while in Rain. Rain Dish recovers 1/16 of the maximum of HP in Rain, which is just a worse Dry Skin. But I mean, Dry Skin does have that negative effect in the sun, so that makes sense.
What Pokemon was known for using Hydrate? Oh, that was Manaphy. Yeah.
Hydration. I mean, I think Gudra also gets access to it, but you might as well use the other two abilities
Yeah.
on Gudra.
Yep.
And yeah, Swift Swim, which every weather has. It's just Pokemon speed is doubled in the rain.
Yeah, if you've got rain going, then you're using Swift Swim in some capacity.
Oh, absolutely.
If
There's
you're
a lot of Pokemon that get Swift Swim too.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it was so broken that it was removed in Smelgon. And I know we've talked about that before, so I'm not going to beat that down. But Swift Swim doubling a Pokemon's speed and having rain just be so good because of all the coverage moves that still work really well with it. It was super quick to be banned by Smelgon. So that was interesting. There are also a ton of Pokemon that use rain. Look at this party going on right over here. Like all the most interesting Pokemon are rain team people. What kind of Pokemon can be used by rain?
Pelipper, as the only drizzle user in the game right now, you essentially have to bring this to a rain team. I mean, other options would be a rain dance Sableye. I've seen that a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, because it gets the priority. It's still good enough.
Yeah.
And just because Pelipper is just like, not to hate on any of you Pelipper lovers, it's not the strongest Pokemon in the world, but it's just kind of what you have to use because you don't have another option.
You don't have a Pokemon.
Yeah. You got Pokemon like Ludicolo, which is very useful with the Swift Swim. Barraskewda, very useful with Swift Swim, becoming the fastest Pokemon in existence. Seismitoad, or I think actually a Ninjask would be even faster, but whatever. It'd become one of the most fast, useful Pokemon in existence. Seismitoad, also Swift Swim. Dreadnought, also Swift Swim. Raichu gets Lightning Rod, which is good to redirect our electricity attacks because, as you can see, there's a lot of Pokemon here weak to electricity. And then Dracovic, the big fish.
Big fish.
Just makes your fish's friend do even more stupid damage than what it was previously. And there you have it.
One of the even more multitudinous reasons to run Choice Scarf on your Dracovic is to make it super fast and super powerful in the rain. Make it go before your Pokemon. Because I feel like a lot of people forget that Fishious Rend only does the nuts damage when it goes before the Pokemon that it's hitting.
Yeah, and Dracovic is a very slow boy, so you almost need the Choice Scarf, in my opinion.
Yeah. You need full speed investment into Choice Scarf for it to be even close to good. But anyway, so those are the four different weathers. Kevin, if you had to give one of these weathers best dressed for today's Oscars performance, what would you say?
I'd say
Who wore it best? Sun.
Sun. Yeah, because Sun has the most things that it does to other Pokemon. You have abilities like Solar Power. You have abilities like Chlorophyll. You have abilities like Harvest that are all very, very strong. The fact that you're able to lower Thunder and Hurricane's accuracy to 50% really blew me away. And you're also increasing Synthesis, Morning Sun, Moonlight to do 1/3 more than a Recover is ridiculous. The fact that you're able to stop Pokemon from being frozen, which is arguably the worst RNG in the game because it doesn't have a timer on frozen. I mean, I think asleep after 3 turns, like you have a very high chance of waking up, but frozen, it's just always the same percentage at 1 turn or at 100 turns that you have the chance of unthawing.
Right.
So yeah, so anything that could stop you from freezing is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I would think that Rain comes in a pretty close second. Although Rain and Sand is a pretty good one as well, especially because of Excadrill and Tyranitar. You know, like they're one of the top tier Pokemon, and it's specifically because of the sand. So I think Hail is definitely I don't want to say the worst, but the least used of all of them, specifically because of all of the types that use it. Like the ice types that use it, they're kind of weak. Abomasnow has like some incredibly scary weaknesses that just make it not a Pokemon that you really want to be using.
Aurora Veil again
Ember. It dies to Ember. Are you kidding me?
Probably. I don't know. I haven't counted.
Also, Aurora Veil. Like Aurora Veil is amazing. It requires a turn to be set up.
That's the only reason you use Hail, though, is Aurora Veil. That's the only reason I can think of. Like, there's not enough abilities or Pokemon that are good enough on a Hail team to use Hail. Yeah. Aurora Veil would be the only reason.
But Gmax Lapras is pretty good.
Can't wait till that one where you won't need Hail to set up Aurora Veil. Yeah.
Really looking forward to that. Before we go, let's dip into the QR Corner. The QR Corner is a segment on our show where we take your questions and your reviews, questions sent in to pokesportspodcast@gmail.com, and then reviews sent in through Apple Podcasts. So if you have one of those little iPhone boys, send in a review. We will be reading it on the podcast. Send in a question to our email. We'll be reading it on the podcast today. We are going to be talking about specifically our reviews because last week we talked about specifically our questions. This first review comes from Schizo0313 saying very little in the way of podcasts to help a casual fan get into battling. I agree with that. Listening to you guys talk about shifting metas and team building has been valuable to me. Appreciate that. Please keep these coming. I want to get into battling. I know it's going to take a long time, and these help. I really appreciate comments like these saying that, you know, there are people who are trying to get into battling, and there are people trying to get into Pokemon who, you know, have been ingesting content like this to try and get better. Because I think that is one of the best ways to actually get better at something is to really start to take a look at the media, take a look at what's going on YouTube, what's going on Spotify, that kind of thing, Apple Podcasts. The next step to that, obviously, is putting together your team and actually going to tournaments. Because as much as listening to media is going to help, the actual tournaments are going to give you context to all the things that you're listening to. Like we can talk about rain until the rain comes down or until the cows come home or whatever the saying is, but until you actually go and experience it for yourself, it's all just words. But
yeah, and like competitive Pokemon's super intimidating. I'll agree with that.
Oh yeah.
Like me actually taking a step back with this podcast and seeing how many intricacies there are, because when you played for a long time, like me and like Mike have, you don't think about a lot of these things. It's just kind of like second knowledge. Yeah. But there's a lot that goes into competitive Pokemon from like an outsider looking in. Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that this is helping you even a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on. Next review is from Stockley Balboa. Great name. Says, I'm glad there's finally a podcast with a focus on competitive again when the others have become yada, yada, yada. Well, actually, where the others have been much more general and the competitive was what I really care about. And that was actually a very conscious choice when creating this podcast, to keep it specifically about the competitive. We want it to live kind of within that niche and not really explore too much about Pokemon Go or the anime or anything like that. Not saying we don't like those, but you know, like that's not where our expertise is. That's not where we spend the most of our time. We spend the most of our time in the game, actually playing it, going to tournaments, looking at tournament replays and all that stuff. Like we're total nerds about that. So we focus on specifically the competitive.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the premise of this podcast ever since we started, because we looked at what the community had, and the community doesn't need another Pokemon podcast to talk about the newest anime. They have plenty of those, but you know, we want to fill that competitive niche because it's what interests us, and we really want to stick to what that is at its core. Obviously, we'll go on tangents and have some fun here and there, but at its core, this podcast is that a competitive Pokemon podcast. So
definitely.
Thanks for the listen.
Thanks. And then Tone Deaf in the Midwest, another great name. Good podcast. I would appreciate a regular team building segment. The deep dive was great, but it will be cool if you guys dissected teams on a regular basis. Also, a very, very interesting comment. We did that really early on, right? Like
episode 3 or something.
Episode 3 or 4, 3, I think. was a deep dive into one of our teams. I think it was mine. We were creating a team for me. You actually used it on a video recently.
Yeah, I remade it into
Yeah.
something a little better.
I think the whole reason that I personally wanted to divert away from that a little bit was because of the fact that like that's a medium that's kind of best to be seen. You can talk about a team all day, but until you actually see how it performs and you really see it in action, it's just like I said before, it's just words. But I will say that that's why we started up our YouTube channel as often as we did. Started uploading on a YouTube channel as often as we did, I should say. Because then we can actually put these teams together, show you why they're good while talking the same kind of thing that we do on the podcast, and then actually show you what it looks like and how wins happen. Yeah.
Now, yeah, I think the issue with a team building segment is because team building can take anywhere from 5 minutes to like hours. You never really know when you're going to have a solid team.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe that's something we can consider for post game chat, which is one episode we just decide to build a team or something that maybe we can do here. Episode. Yeah, why not, man? We don't have anything else to do.
No time limit. There you go.
Or maybe something we can consider here as like kind of a compromise is we can focus around cores.
Yeah.
Like there's an interesting core with like that I'm trying to build a team off of. I haven't had success with it yet. I'm trying to run a Sap Sipper Physical Goodra with a Choice Scarf, Petal Blizzard, Roserade side by side.
Okay.
So you'd hit yourself with the grass, the Petal Blizzard, and then you just get +1 attack every time you hit yourself.
Oh.
It's pretty fun.
That's interesting. Fun. And I mean, yeah, like that's the whole thing. I don't want to never do team building. I think that they're just different ways to do it that that I don't think we've thought of yet, but definitely good things to explore. Like what you said, like we can absolutely do an episode just like that. If you have your own suggestions for potential episodes, you can send those into pokesportspodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on Twitter at pokesportspod. While we're at it, you can follow us on Spotify at Pokesports. You can rate, review, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, where we do read out reviews. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Pokesports. Subscribe to us there. We have a ton of videos all about different teams. We have a couple fun, creative ones on my personal favorite is an Obstagoon video that I did. And then
road to 1,000 subscribers, guys.
Exactly. We're getting there. We're getting there. And then if there's anything that we talked about there that you want to see on the podcast, just send that over to us. Kevin, where can people find you?
Instagram, Twitter, X-Rays Ovation. What about you,
Beautiful. Mike? You can find me at Instagram and Twitter at StillJustMike.
Whoa.
Wow. Last thing that we forgot to mention, of course, make sure you check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Pokesportspodcast, and check out all the fun stuff that we've got going on there. I want to thank Ro Eakson for the sub on Twitch. You're a beautiful person, and I love the heck out of you. Of course, all the other subscribers that we have on Twitch, you guys are fantastic as well. We might not have given you a shout out on the stream, but we're going to make damn sure that we do from now on. So there's that. Guys,
could always do next month, guys. Wait.
Yeah. Now it's time for us to get into the post game. So everybody, I hope that you have a great week, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.